Hello. Let's check in with part four, chapter one of the voyage to the country of the. Now, I've read out loud humanims, but apparently, going by the notes in the text that I'm not reading, I'm reading the Gutenberg version. In the notes and one or two videos, it's winims, not humanims. Humanims, it's winims. Though it obviously is supposed to have that kind of thing of a homophonic, or is it homophonic? Uh, Similarity. What is it got? The homonomous God similarity between Winhams and human. So from now on, in further chapters, I will use the pronunciation Winhams, which is apparently where you're supposed to get the pronunciation for these horse creatures that Gulliver gets. So yes, Gulliver Gulliver is in he stays he's left with his he stays with his wife for 5 whole months in happy conditions. If I could have learned the lesson of knowing when I was well, which apparently he couldn't. And he leaves her, and he leaves her wife, his wife and children. And he leaves his wife large with child, yet again. And that's basically all he says. There's no kind of toing and froing. This isn't a psychologically realistic book or anything. But Gulliver's like, yeah, I didn't know when I was happy, so I left. This time as the captain of the ship. He was tired of being the surgeon. Meets up with another captain who he gives advice to but doesn't follow, and that captain he learns later has foundered. Unfortunately, men were dying on his ship, so he had to pick up some new men. They turned out to be pirates who suborned the rest of his crew, had a mutiny. He was confined to his room, chained there and guarded for a good while until they set him off. They refused to even tell him who the captain of the ship had become, and they set him down in a strange and unknown land, which we'll find out is the land of the Winhams, the country of the Winhams. But that's the Winhams aren't the first creatures that he finds here. He finds like fields and stuff like that, and there's these odd humanoid creatures who have claws, but also and the males are all covered with hair, but have bare asses and bare chests and stuff like that. It basically looks like a human with like lots of hair, but they have claws. And the females, which are they have the hair, but they have kind of a light fuzz on the rest of their body, except for their anus and their pudenda, their privates. So and he bumps into one in the road, and it's like wasn't quite sure exactly what kind of reaction he's getting. He pulls out a sword to defend himself, at which point the creature starts back and yells, and like 40 of them descend on him, and he has to kind of keep him at bay. He backs up to a tree. Some of them go into the tree and shit on him from above because it's Swift. Of course they're going to shit on him. And then, there's a note in the thing saying like, yeah, this is kind of a monkey behavior that was documented in travel books. But then they're scared off. And he looks up, and like there's a horse coming down the road. And, it's like, that's odd. And he tries doing some neighing and kind of whistling and kind of like horse things because he figures, oh, maybe I can get this horse and ride to a village and find some native, some Indian, he says. And it kind of starts back and looks at him. It's like, what the hell are you doing? And another horse comes up, and they start having a conversation. And he's like, wow. And he actually converses with it. He gives them a little speech about who he is. He's an Englishman and all this stuff. And they're like, what the fuck? And they also are surprised, like, oh, your hat comes off. You're wearing clothes. You've got like stockings. And like, they're quite puzzled. And they keep on using the word Yahoo in the conversation, kind of hoarsely, Yahoo, Yahoo, something like that. And so he says the word, and they're like, holy crap. And so he says the word, and they repeat it to him a couple of times until he gets the pronunciation a little bit better. And then they say the word Winhams, using the weird H the spelling on it is weird. The spelling on Winhams is Houyhnys, and that apparently phonetically is Winhams. Winhams, which, yeah, someone would have to take me through where w w ho ho Winham. So yeah, that's one of these things. If like I hadn't looked at the note, I would have no idea. I would just say Humanums, but apparently it's Winhams. And he says that word, and they're quite surprised. And one horse goes off one direction, and the other horse says, like, please walk in front of me this direction. And they're like, they're I think he says kind of like hurum at some point, and he says like, I'm tired, I need some rest. Like, they're not offering him to ride on their back, and he wonders if they're magicians that have transformed themselves somehow, which apparently is from another text. They're not. We will find out later that the Winhams are indeed just a race of really intelligent horses that use these yahoos, these humanoid shapes, as their beasts of burden. So yeah, that is the first chapter of one of the. It's interesting It's interesting the different parts of this book, because I think the Voyage to Laputa, which is all very kind of very much kind of scientific satire and stuff like that, and that's probably the Laputa chapter is probably the least talked about, probably because it's the most technical in a way, going into all the sciences and stuff like that. Whereas, yeah, we're now getting back into one of those famous ones of the famous, horses who are the Winhams, who are this intelligent, rational ones, and the irrational, foul creatures. Which, yeah, and that's another thing to note, is that he has a real visceral reaction when he meets the Yahoos. Like, these really, really, this is more than anything else in this book is creeping him the fuck out. And I think it's because of just their bestial humanoid nature. Like, this is mankind without that veneer of rationality. And it's interesting that the rationality are in these horse creatures, which I guess we'll find out more about their nature as we go along. All right, I will leave it there. Chapter 2 next. And yes, this is the final section. Not too much more to go. It's yeah, not too much more to go. All right, I'll leave it there. More videos later.